Welcome all to the second episode of the Stranger Nerds podcast, season 1, episode 2 of Stranger Things. Mitchell Lee, Connor Vandermark, Nick Izzo, and Tommy Grant here talking about the hit Netflix show. Half of us have watched it, half of us have not. Guys, how the hell are we doing?
Fantastic, sir. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. I'd be better if
Doing
the
wonderful.
Astros didn't just win, but you know what? I don't really care about baseball, so I don't know why that's bothering me.
No, I feel the same way. I don't like seeing them succeed in any capacity. So yeah, no, I feel that.
Week's been busy, but I'm alive. That's what matters.
That is what matters. You got that down to a T there, Connor. All right, so we we talked about Stranger Things. Season 1, episode 1 with an average of a 7.9275 for the group. Nick bringing everybody down with a 7. Very stingy, however. Nick made sure to let everyone know that he would indeed watch this show on his own accord if we were not doing the podcast. So everyone came away from that pilot feeling pretty good. Episode 2, just general first impressions, guys. How we feeling after that one?
I thought it was pretty good. I thought that it was definitely, you can definitely see them like starting to plant some different seeds of like different pathways of how each character is going to progress. With definitely the kids hiding 11, or more Mike in that case hiding 11, and then him being home from school, and then definitely with the whole like the I guess, what do you call them, the government in the background, like the agents, I guess you can say, or the researchers, them like snooping around and like trying to find a living at the same time. Like it's definitely like it's slowly building the suspense, and it's a nice slow burn right now. I'm liking it.
I'd have to agree with that. I think actually what you just said is perfect. It's a nice continuation of obviously the previous episode. It didn't like jump into things too much, but there was definitely enough to understand. Like okay, like it's progressing. At first, they didn't really care for hiding her except for except for Mike, and then they eventually came around. So yeah, I thought it was a good episode.
I think came around is definitely a what's the word I'm looking for here? Not as descript as I would say in this case, because that was more of like, yo, no.
Tommy?
Yeah,
I liked it. Definitely a little better than last episode. Building up more suspense. I'm a big fan of the ending of this episode. We definitely see a lot of emotions out of Joyce this episode. A lot of conflict between the initial crew of Mike and Lucas and Dustin, trying to figure out what to do with 11. I enjoyed those interactions a lot. So yeah, definitely a good episode.
I think the thing that I don't want to say enjoyed the most, but the thread that I liked seeing pulled on the most was just the desperation of Joyce from the beginning of the episode to the end, where she goes from "I swear I heard Will on the phone" to desperately trying to get the new phone, to maybe the lights have something to do with this. Maybe there's something going on in my house. You start to see a little bit more from her perspective, as far as you get hints of this is a normal person that is being driven crazy by the circumstances, and I like that you see aspects of that when she's interacting with I guess her boss at work. I've never missed a day, done anything like that. I've never even been late. um so you get a good sense of this is a normal person that's just being driven crazy by the circumstances, but also the stuff that you get with 11. And you start to see glimpses of things that she can do. And I like that the boys aren't necessarily afraid of her. They think it's cool. At least some of them do. Like I know Dustin seemed like he thought it was pretty cool at first. Because I know that if I met someone at like 11 or 12 years old that could move things with their mind, I would be like, all right, let's just start doing stuff. I wouldn't be afraid of it. I'd just be like, all right, let's try to like, you know, put Tommy on the roof.
Why am I being put on the roof?
Why not?
What did I do?
You're the most
I don't
likely
know,
to survive.
Maybe you need
I mean,
something to put
I
on the
did
roof. This
survive
isn't a
falling
bad
off
thing.
the roof at one
If she
time.
can put you on the roof, she can probably take you down.
But also at the same time, like you don't like as we saw in the first episode, she can like kill people too. So like I know the kids don't know that, but at the same
They
time,
didn't
this
see
is
that.
some at the same time, like if you're Lucas and Dustin, you're like this girl just forcefully closed this door in front of me. I am gonna play nice with the scary lady who can probably kill me in one shot.
Yeah, I
This
guess.
is
I mean,
true.
Mike isn't really thinking too much with that. Mike is. I don't think he's at the crushing point just
No,
yet. He's
Mike,
definitely
no,
very protective.
no, Mike, no, but the other two definitely. You can definitely see in their demeanor is like, oh, let's put this psycho up and away and get her out of here.
Especially Dustin. Dustin's always talking about let's get her back to the loony bin. Let's
I
put
don't
her
blame him.
away.
Do not blame him whatsoever.
Nah, that
And
wouldn't
you
be
see
me.
the division in their group right from the get go. I mean, the first scene, you got Dustin and Lucas just asking her a million questions like,
Lucas,
"Where's your
my bad.
hair? You have cancer?" Like
Yeah.
all these crazy questions, and all Mike is concerned about is like, "Hey, let's get her some clothes and make sure she's comfortable. She's not a threat to us." And Lucas is like, "What the fuck are you talking about? She's fucking crazy." And it's
Yeah,
just
they
it's
didn't
the
care.
vibe between the three of them, just trying to figure out what the hell to do with this girl. And it also goes to the fact they're young kids. They probably have zero experience talking to girls aside from their sisters, and this is their first interaction with the girl. And she just happens to be looking like a psychopath out of a psychiatric hospital.
Also trying to
Isn't
change
that
right in front
all
of
of
them.
our first? Isn't that all of our first interaction with girls though? Someone that's just straight out of a
I mean,
mental
I'm
facility or
sure
something like that.
knowing all of us in middle school, yeah, probably.
Yeah,
Dude, man,
probably the
them
same one
cooties,
too.
gotta stay away from them cooties, man.
I mean, let's be honest, we weren't the smoothest of guys in middle school.
I had about negative
I don't know
two
what you're
swab.
talking about, but leave me out of it. I wish there was a little more Hopper in this episode. You don't get a ton with him, and
I agree.
he's definitely one of my favorites so far. And I know I've seen this, but I don't have the specific events of the series aren't necessarily burned into my memory. Certain things, sure, but like I've forgotten all but one thing in this episode, and that was just that old Johnny boy was out being a creeper in the woods. That was like the only thing that I remembered from this episode.
Yeah, and we'll
And
get to that later on in
yeah,
this episode because that was a interesting scene. But
um,
yeah, to talk
Took a
about
lot
Hopper,
of pictures.
they do a lot with his character without having to have a little much dialogue for him. The few scenes he was in, the little things that happen, you kind of think like, what's going on? Like when Joyce is like, wouldn't you recognize the voice of your own daughter?
Yo, he got
Obviously,
so
we haven't
bad.
seen his daughter, but you can kind of guess by his body language in that scene, like something definitely happened, and he probably lost the child.
I was I was concerned about bringing that up because I couldn't remember if they. I didn't think they brought anything up in season or in episode one. I didn't
It
want to
it's
go
definitely
down
something
that
that's touched
road,
on later in the show, but
but I
Connor,
like the
you pick
fact
up
that
on that?
No, they
you were
did. Episode one, they did mention that because they remember they were out hunting for Will, and I think it was the interaction. They wasn't said. It was the school teacher. The school teacher started talking to Hopper about it, and then uh, there was a comment made. Hopper wasn't too keen on it, and like he kind of like kept walking forward. And then one of the I guess deputies went to the teacher and like, yeah, his daughter passed away.
That's
Like,
right.
so
Ah,
yeah,
okay. I gotcha. But I mean, you're getting a glimpse into the Joyce and Hopper dynamic. I wish there was a little bit more of that. But I mean, Joyce has plenty to do in this episode. I'm trying to think of who has the most going on.
definitely Joyce.
Probably either Joyce or Mike, because
I
Mike's
would,
just the whole time trying to hide 11.
I would argue between Mike and I would almost even argue Jonathan. Because in the very beginning of the episode, you see
That's true.
Joyce kind of just breaking down on the verge of just having a complete mental breakdown. And
I don't even
you
know if
see
it's Verge. We're past Verge. Just
running around the background, trying to get breakfast ready, trying to get her ready, almost taking over the role of like the head of the house because Joyce is kind of just a mental mess. And you see, obviously, he's kind of the outcast at school. Everybody's making fun of him. And he's, got to go deal with his dad trying to find Will because he doesn't trust Hopper to go talk to him. And so I'd almost make the argument Jonathan's got a lot going on this episode.
I liked the scene that they had with Lonnie, where you kind of get the feeling that we're not getting too much help from this guy, but Jonathan's also not a pushover with him
You,
either.
you mean the asshole living with like a 20-year-old in a tiny little house, acting like a complete
That girl
asshole?
was not 20. That girl was like 32. You are horrible with age.
Drugs can make you age a lot, my friend.
You know what? You do have a good point there.
They didn't look like the
And
cleanest.
That's a solid point.
yeah. And you would rather be on the side of under guessing than over guessing.
Correct.
So,
She,
although
she was a little wrinkly.
I guess,
and
yeah.
And even just the comments of like, oh, maybe I'll trade you in for the
Yeah.
like just
Yeah, I was
Just
like,
cringy.
You
Yeah,
can
let's
tell
not
she
say
is.
stuff like that, you know?
Oh,
What
yeah.
hurt me the most is the dad kind of just gave her like a little smirk, like he wasn't even like wasn't even turned off by the comment. He was just like,
He
maybe,
was probably turned on by it.
yeah, like just fucking gross. I hate his character so much. And his whole conversation with Jonathan about how your mom's a terrible mom, like oh one kid's missing and one's just running wild, like you got to come out here and live with me. I was like, fuck this dude.
Well, I can see why he would say that because from an outsider's perspective, it's like, hey, things are clearly not going well where you're at.
but he's obviously
You can tell he was the absentee father growing up because
Oh, absolutely.
with that flashback scene with Bill and Jonathan listening to music and Jonathan's kind of playing the good big brother moment while Joyce is playing on the phone because he's not showing up. Jonathan's kind of taking over that dad role a little bit.
very much so. He like no classic deadbeat dad, and the fact that like he didn't even recognize Jonathan at first, and is like, "Oh, look how tall you got! Look how much different you are."
Yeah, he fucking
And
attacks him in the house.
and
Yeah.
and you know that Joyce knew about the girlfriend, and like I don't know how what connection or how much that Joyce and Lonnie had talked to each other, but she was aware of her. The fact that like the girlfriend didn't even know what Jonathan looked like in the first place, like, oh, who's this guy? It's like, oh yeah, it's my son. Like, no,
My
nonchalantly, and like,
oldest son.
yeah, my oldest son. Yeah, exactly. And then like the fact, I think the nice little dig of like was Jonathan handing Lonnie back the handing him the flyer. I'm like, here's a flyer, Will, if you see him, just in case you forget what he looked like. I was like, ooh, that's so
Yeah,
good.
burned.
So
You hit him
that
with the
kinda
burn.
lets
You hit
you-
him with the
that kinda
burn
lets
and
you
just
know.
left.
What do we think of Steve so far?
He's your typical high school douchebag. Just wants to get with the pretty girl, trying to
I don't think
he-
he's
he-
been a douchebag so far. I think he's just been like smooth, maybe trying a little too hard.
Yeah,
But-
come hook up with me in the.
He's definitely trying to impress. That's like
Yeah.
for certain.
And like
I can't say he's a douche about it, but he's definitely just trying to impress.
he's thinking with a second brain.
He
Or second
is,
head.
but
Yeah.
he's going about it in the right way because there's a very wrong way to go about things, and he's going the charmer route.
He's definitely buttering Nancy, right? Nancy, that's her name.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's definitely buttering her up, and like, no. But at the same
She's
time, like you can
hook,
tell
line, and sinker. You know,
but you can also tell he's like, he's applying the pressure on her too. Like don't chicken out. Like no, especially like his no on a Tuesday night. No, my parents aren't home. Come over. Like
yeah, Tuesday
And
party,
Barb,
party
good
on
old
Tuesday
Barb.
night.
he's the
Justice
quote
for Barb. She saw right through that shit.
he's the quote unquote bad boy. And that at least to and yeah, Barb is like, yeah, fuck this guy. We know his game plan. Stop being dumb, Nancy. Like,
Okay, maybe I'm just an idiot, and I know I just set you guys up for a yeah, you are, and appreciate you for not taking that bait,
I
but
was tempted.
I
No, we all
didn't
thought it.
think I didn't think that like Barb was kind of being like, they're just having fun. It's not like Steve's being like rapey or anything, like it's just like
Wasn't he though?
they're just having a good time.
Wasn't he?
but the thing is, so here's the thing that I think separates both of Barb and Steve is that, in my opinion at least, I think Barb has Nancy's best interest in mind, and I think Steve has Steve's best interest in mind. And I think it's the
See, I
biggest
think
difference.
Steve has
between-
Steve's best interest in mind, but I think Barb is jealous. I think that's what it's coming more from.
Nah, I honestly,
I think it's
don't.
jealousy.
I don't blame her. And like she's obviously uncomfortable too with the situation, and she's trying to support her friend. But at the same time, like, no, you have some friends who are more mature than others, and sometimes you have that one friend's like, hey, you probably shouldn't do this. You shouldn't be doing this. And no, do they always listen to them? No, but you look back and I'm like, yeah, I should have listened.
Here's another theory that I've heard. Barb wants Nancy.
It wouldn't go past me, but no.
So
Yeah, I mean, I guess it could.
that's kind of the. I don't know if I'm necessarily on that wavelength, but it would, more
Can't
of the
say I'm on
jealousy
that
route.
wavelength.
Well, it is her
I think
best
that's a
friend.
bit of a far stretch, Mitchell.
Yeah, I can't
Thank
say
you.
I'm on that wavelength.
I'm known for that, but I don't like his friends. I'll say that much right now.
Oh, good old Tommy and Carol, who have been having sex in 7th grade, apparently. Just star
Seventh
students.
grade. That's you don't know. They could be getting a quickie in and then studying together. They could
Oh
be
yeah,
great.
definitely.
They could be great at math.
While studying.
2 + 2 = dick. Isn't that what they learn in 7th grade?
Hey,
It's been a
we
while
had.
since I was in 7th grade.
I'm trying to think when we
Oh,
had.
really? I was just there last week.
They need to beef up their security so they don't let you in anymore.
Plus, it's the '80s. Who knows what their health class was like back then?
That's very true. That is very true.
I mean,
Is
we
this
did
this
see
is
Jonathan
late
just
80s or
up
early
and walk
80s?
out of the school.
I think it's early '80s, as I'm well aware of.
They dropped the Yoda reference, so that was 80.
I think it's like '82. That'd be my guess. I can Google it
All
real
right,
quick.
I gotta whip up the old Wikipedia. 83.
I was close.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
So, I want to go through like a whole episode recap.
Yeah,
What?
why not?
Yeah, go through what stood out to you guys, because especially you and Nick. I want to know what popped off to you.
Okay. You want me to go first, Connor?
Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah. So not to go like scene, for scene, but I would say the beginning part of it, it was definitely interesting with the dynamic and Mike trying to see, how he could try and fix the situation with 11, but at the same time not rat her out. Um, so that pretty much kind of, in my opinion, took up a good amount of the beginning, and of course, like, they're not like fully on board with it, but they kind of realize that, like, oh, like, she's the main lead that we have to trying to find Will. So um that part stood out to me, and then as it progressed through the episode, um I would say that seeing Jonathan kind of do his own investigation at first, and he kind of just ends up doing a little light stalking, if you will.
Light stalking. Light stalking. No, he was doing straight up
uh,
like
oh yeah, no, I
criminal
just
activity,
oh yeah.
taking
So
pictures in the throes of passion. Mm-mm.
right, right. I didn't mean to skip a little bit, but Tommy, I think you mentioned before that you wish you saw a little bit more Hopper. I can't remember who exactly said that, but
That was Mitchell that said
was
that.
that Mitchell? Okay, I apologize. So Mitchell, if that, yeah, so I do agree with that because I kind of thought he would have more lines. He got really mad at Joyce and like had like the most pout face that you could have when she was like, "Wouldn't you recognize your daughter?" And he was like, "Oh, how dare you!" I was like, "All right, dude, like,
That's a low
can't you see
blow,
where
though.
she's?" I was like, "Can't you see where she's coming from?" But yeah, so you had that whole dynamic, and then getting back into Jonathan, it was kind of interesting seeing him, you know, confront Lonnie, and then ultimately go, take all those pictures, and then all of a sudden, Barb is sitting on the diving board, and she's looking at her thumb, and then whatever comes behind. It seemed to me like some sort of monster. Obviously, I don't know for sure, but yeah, that was
I don't think
that's
she
pretty
knew
much
either.
that's pretty much that.
Yeah,
Why was she sitting on the
I liked
diving
it.
board? I've never understood that
Yeah, I
cliche
thought
of
she was
like,
gonna drive home, and then she was
yeah,
just there.
I
I was like,
see.
huh.
I think she was definitely
jealousy.
trying to be a good friend to Nancy and stick around, knowing that she was making, well, in Barb's mind, she was making a mistake, and she wanted to be there for her afterwards. But
Yeah,
you kind of feel
That's a
bad
good
for
point.
Barb because you're at this party that you were dragged to. She's
she
clearly
definitely
uncomfortable
was
the
dragged
entire
to it. She
time.
was definitely peer pressured into it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that'll be the first and last time she ever attempts a shotgun a beer because it just went downhill from there.
Yeah,
Everyone ends up going up to their own bedroom to, hook up,
yeah,
and she's
you
just kind
can
of sitting there at the
tell.
bottom with no one to hang out with.
Yeah,
So
you can
she
tell
went
that.
and looked at her reflection in the water and started seeing reflection from Milan and had a good time.
Yeah, and you can tell that when she goes out to eat, she definitely asks her parents to cut her steak for her because she
Yes.
cannot hold a knife whatsoever. I mean, she's not doing that by herself.
Like, someone
Uh,
grab this girl
That's a
Butterfinger.
good one.
I mean,
Let's be
she's
real though.
definitely asking, like, even if she ordered, like, you could have smoked ribs for like 14 hours and she would still need a knife and probably cut herself, and like that shit just falls off the bone.
But here's
So,
the
like,
problem I have. Why
I
use the
don't know.
knife? You drove there. You have car keys. Just use the key.
Another good point. Actually, I didn't even think
That's
about that.
that's actually a fantastic point.
Fantastic point. Actually, I
They
didn't
had
even think
less
about that.
knowledge back in the early 80s, all right? This was like, what if the key just breaks? Which I guess could happen.
Either, yeah. Moral of the point, though, she did not know how to hold a knife.
Or what if you slice your hand
Sounds
open
exactly
with a knife?
The thing is, like, I can definitely see a kid be like you. Okay, as a someone who coached before, like I've seen kids do stupid shit, even like middle schoolers in high school,
Oh, that's true.
and
You've
like
seen kids do stupid shit. I've seen us do stupid shit.
yes, I'm well aware of
Yeah,
that. But
I've
okay, we've all had our
Welcome
rounds of
to
stupidity.
Electric Avenue.
uh, one of these days we'll post this online. We'll
Uh,
post that. It is online, I think. No, according to Tommy.
Oh my god.
We'll link it up one day.
Mr. Noble.
I don't think
Um,
Mitchell ever got to see that video, did you?
Yeah, I have no idea what you guys are talking about. I'm completely in the dark.
Tommy was
my
sending a
bad.
YouTube link.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
way back
legendary
when.
video from another time.
Anyway, but like I could definitely see a kid Barb like not knowing what angle to properly have the knife at, and then like the can is round and not like denting the can a little bit to actually have a good point of impact. Like I can just like whoop, I'm an idiot. Like that is something I can easily see. Especially with her, like, do you think she ever handled like an actual regular knife, but like more of a knife to do something like that action compared to cutting a steak? Like it's more of a piercing than an actual slicing. So
Now, Connor, someone who's gone to a party school like Rutgers and has been to many college parties, have you ever shotgunned a beer with a knife?
I've had before, like
Or I'm sorry,
some,
let me rephrase that question. What is the most unique way you've had a shotgun a beer because of lack of tools available to crack open the beer?
that would be a coat hanger, like not the one actually like the you hang up clothes with, but like the one you hang up like it's on a wall. So I
Okay.
had it sideways, pierced it sideways, and then quickly to my mouth, crack down.
What back alley were you doing this in?
The
My
Class
house.
C University of
Oh, it's
Rutgers,
called Rutgers.
Rutgers, New Brunswick.
It was more so an impromptu shotgun, and we're like, no one has keys on them. Okay, boom, done. It worked.
No, I get it though.
I didn't get tetanus.
I've had to use the corner of a ping pong table. So
Impressive. That's a good one.
yeah,
I have never done that before. So
yeah.
I just drink like a normal human being.
You
when I
never
drink.
shotgunned.
No.
What?
Nope.
This is what happens when you leave Jersey too young.
I don't think that has anything to do with it because
I don't know.
the two colleges that I did any partying at are pretty well known for different things between Appalachian State and East Carolina University.
That's a good combo.
One of the mountains, one of the beach, or not really the beach, but ECU was definitely a party school.
Coastal. Is that his name?
No. Fuck Coastal. They just beat us at football the other day. Made me so mad. But no.
Yeah, I thought they kind of reiterated some things that Izzo said, but I guess I go through each of the plot points. Definitely with the boys in 11. I you can definitely see 11 definitely starting to warm up a little. Definitely to Mike warming up. She's still skittish to the other two. So as the two who watched the show already, I don't know is this a spoiler because you always hear it with Stranger Things like when he flipped the when she flipped the board table, is that like what they're talking about when it comes to the upside down?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
like I was like once she did, I'm like, oh shit, that makes a lot of sense what they're talking about because no,
Without spoiling any
yeah,
concepts of the show, a lot of it plays into D&D. Like that initial game from the first episode,
mm-hmm.
a lot of that plays into plot points throughout the show, and they kind of use characters from D&D to reference actual monsters and things that happen in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Her flipping the board and referencing like that, like they eventually come to name it the Upside Down, which it's not really much of a spoiler, but since you already know it,
yeah.
No, it's kind of one of those things that you hear about
yeah,
before you like. I heard about it before I watched.
it's
the
one of the
show.
more common terms to come out of Stranger Things. Everybody kind of knows the Upside Down term.
But
Mhm.
I thought it was very smart because obviously you can tell Will's alive, and the fact that she didn't verbally say these things, but she was able to, she knew what Will's character was. Like she just what's the word I'm thinking of? Inherently knew it, through whatever ability she has or connection she has to Will. No, and the fact that she points like, okay, this is your world, and then this is him. He's on the other side of it. Like, no, to me, like, as someone who plays Legend of Zelda, like the Dark World or the Mirror World, like it's very much that kind of like aspect to me. Like that's how I understood what she was referring to in that case. I know it's probably different in the show, but I was like, oh, that's very interesting that they were able to describe this phenomenon, not even using words, just having her actually play out in her own way the what's happening to their friend. Um,
Yeah.
So I thought it was very very interesting on that, and I thought also too with uh, Mike hiding 11, there was a scene where he's playing hooky and teaching 11 stuff, and like it's very funny where he he's going through and it's like teaching a 5-year-old stuff. Like, oh, like if you have a cousin who comes over and like doesn't like do much, and like you're showing them new fun toys and stuff, like the lazy boy. I'm like, that's funny. That is adorable and that's
Cousin
funny.
who doesn't do much.
I don't know, like I'm just giving a reference for something, like a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old. Like, oh, let's just screw around and like, no, let's have some fun. Like, let's do things that we're not supposed to do when mom and dad are home.
And that also kind of ties you into a little bit about Eleven's character. I mean, you have
Yeah.
this girl who's clearly at the middle school age, who has very limited
Traumatized.
talking abilities. She has no idea what half these regular household items are.
Yep.
And you have that flashback scene of her in what we're assuming is the government facility being dragged with her screaming Papa at the lead scientist. What do you guys think of that?
Ugh. Not no bueno.
Yeah, no bueno. Definitely intense.
Like,
That definitely did not really see that. See that coming.
there's definitely trauma there, and like no, her being in the tying back into it, her being in the closet while Mike's trying to distract his mom. No, she has claustrophobia, like no, and that's the whole reason why she doesn't want the doors closed, because the fact that if it's closed, she has that same restrictive feeling that surrounds her, and definitely gives her that that PTSD action.
Yep.
And it's I no, I'm not surprised. And like you heard the big thump that like, oh, it's like their mom's like, oh, is anyone else home? It's like, I don't know, no one. And he just runs back upstairs. And with that scene too, I know it's a little off tangent. No, Mike trying to make like some story of him not feeling well, like as we all have done as young children, like, oh, I have a headache, I have an itchy throat, and the mom's like, yeah, I know it's okay, like, no, you're having a rough time with Will being missing, and like the the face of Mike, like as an actor, of like, oh shit, I could just play that card. I am an idiot. Like it was like I was like, that's completely right. Like I wasn't even thinking about that angle, and she just kind of laid on a platter for me to take it and take it with me and go. I thought it was very funny. Yeah, like, but like, 11 not knowing, like, oh, what's friends, and there's like, no, no, Mike and the gang has to kind of explain what that is, like, or what's a promise. Like, these are things that she never, like, these are definitions she never heard before. And she, you can see she's kind of learning on the fly with some of these things, and I'm really curious on, how they're going to play on that kind of plot point where, with her PTSD background, like her not knowing these things, like how is she going to interpret this in the wrong way, where she will find out something and she would try to use that word in a context or understand something in a context in the wrong manner, and it could screw something up when it comes to her communicating with someone she's not supposed to, or something of that nature in the future. Yeah. Johnny, is that just Johnny, right? Who's the creeper guy?
Yeah,
Jonathan, Johnny.
Jonathan.
Yeah.
So he is in high school. He's in the school with them, right? Because that was like, because obviously he kind of skipped school driving around and stuff, but like,
He doesn't skip school. He shows up at school and just simply says "fuck this" and walks out.
okay, so I'm just making sure, like,
He puts up a flyer and then leaves.
I kind of assumed that, but I wasn't like, I didn't know if he was like, because he's like kind of weird to me, like weird look where he's floating around, looks like floating around 17, 18-ish in a way, at least to me. So like, I don't know, I couldn't get a good read on like what his age was. So I was like, oh, is he just like posting the flyer just because because the boys still go there, and no, because I guess because no, unlike all of us who went to a freaking giant ass school with a graduating class of 900 kids, no, their school looks like middle school and high schools combined in that one room in that one school. So like I kind of assumed that like, oh, he could be just pinning it up just to pin it up.
Yeah.
Um and yeah, he was like, to me, like that. I didn't think that it definitely built his character up. Like I thought the back um flashback scene was very nice. I like that with Will. Like him going through the music. Again, music choices great. No, great soundtrack. And I think that the I don't know, I feel very mediocre on that kind of like setup. Like I think they could have done a little better. Like overall with him and Lonnie, and like I don't know. I feel something's missing there. They might edge it out more in the future. Um, but like there's something that like I'm interested where it's going to go with how he's going to develop. But like I feel like there's something missing from that scene or that interaction with him. Well, before as he was following Will's trail and then bumped into the uh to Steve's house. I don't know. I feel like there's like a missing piece in that situation. How about
I,
you guys?
I saw more of, they had to show Lonnie to kind of give the audience a vibe of, this guy's a deadbeat. He's not going to show up to actually help out and try and look for Will. So Jonathan's kind of taking it upon himself that like he's holding everything in. He's trying to stay strong for his mom, and he's kind of going, you know what, I probably should look around for Will. School isn't really as important. I need to go look. So he kind of just takes the car and go. So
Like
I think that's kind of why they introduced Lonnie as a deadbeat and made
it
sure we saw like, hey, he's not going to be involved.
it's more so like the tempo. Like that's what I feel is like off. Like because compared to everything else, like I don't feel a sense of like he's working his ass off to help China, but he's worried. But like there's like unlike like I think the perfect example is comparing to him the high schooler compared to his mother, the adult who's going crazy. His tempo feels so much slower and less urgent than it does to his mother. I'm not saying he's not trying, but like just the overall like melancholy is not the right word, but that kind of vibe of like
Yeah,
gloom.
and that kind of
Gloom is a
continues
good
with his
word.
character a bit. That's kind of just how he is as a person. You'll kind of see that as the show goes on. Um,
I would say like he's like defeated already almost.
Mm-hmm.
Like
yeah,
he just like it's like he's pushing through, he's trying his best, but at the same time he's just like fuck it, like this shit sucks. Like that's kind of how I feel about him.
yeah. I mean, he lives in a very low income house. His dad's out of the picture. His little brother's missing. He's in school and working, trying to support the family. And now his mom's taking time off of work because she's just too upset to go to work and spending all their money on stuff to find Will. So he's kind of almost like tapping out of,
On phones.
why should I bother with my responsibilities? My responsibility now should just be to find Will. Because if I find Will, all these things will go away. And what would we do in our situation if we were in that situation? Would you continue going to school and work? Would you go out and look for your sibling?
I'd probably go out and look.
So
No, I would.
that's
I
what
wouldn't
do.
trust myself to be
I
able
wouldn't think twice
to
about it.
make any progress as far as finding anybody.
No,
Like,
but
Like,
if
what
you're
am
in
I
that
gonna do?
desperate of a situation, it's just, you kind of say, what, fuck it, this is more important. I'm gonna go look for my brother or sister.
Mhm.
I would probably be more on the like the Joyce end of things, me personally, because the fact that like I like not like as manic as she is, but like the hyper focus and the um again like I mentioned before, like the tempo, like the gloomy feel like I feel from him, even though he's working like and trying to do it like find his brother and everything like it's just like I feel like the there's no I guess I want to say I don't want to even say urgency is not the right word because he is actively looking for him, but like at the same time like he gets distracted by Nancy and all of them. Like why do you have to be there? Like
And so begins the awkward love triangle of Nancy, Steve, and Jonathan.
I kind of figured that was going to be a thing. You kind of sort of really play out, but still why like you heard the screaming, okay, cool, you went to go see what it was. Once you realize like, oh no, these fuckers, but like the like I guess like the infatuation of Nancy and no like him I guess him actually like having a crush on her or no at least developing feelings for her and him sticking around like was it and taking the photos which I thought was like I know that's his thing like he has his whole album that he showed his mom in the first episode
Creepy
but
bastard.
like that's like I don't know that feels way too clingy.
He took it a way bit too far in this episode.
But also children so
It's
like
creepy enough to just be watching.
yeah
You know
Oh,
that
sure.
that on its own would be kind of like, all right, buddy, what are you doing?
And he made zero attempt to just say, maybe I shouldn't stick around and watch. I should probably leave.
He
Nah,
made
he just
sure to get none of the important stuff, like Barb getting eaten, and
yeah.
get all of
Oh
the
yeah, right.
all
Like
of
his
the
phone just
Nancy stuff.
conveniently went out at that time. Like, come
Yeah,
on.
exactly.
hold on so I have a question about that so did he actually see Barb get eaten
Nah.
or
Just
It
staring at
looks
the
like
camera,
he
I
was
think.
just he's gonna plead the fifth once that comes, but actually not know anything.
that's what I'm saying
I
like
think I think he saw that she just wasn't there, but I think he was looking down at the camera to be like, "Oh, like what happened to the film?" Right?
yeah like
That's what I saw.
because he didn't react and
to
then
cover up the plot hole, they conveniently did the quick off-scene death where you just hear a scream, and next thing you know,
Yes.
Barb is gone.
well she
Yeah,
didn't
and then he's
did,
like, "Oh, what happened?"
she didn't scream though.
No, I'm pretty sure there was a scream.
No, it wasn't a scream.
Yeah.
It was just the
Wasn't it a subtle one?
no, there was not a scream at all. It was the beast making that growling sound and then gone.
Actually,
Like
yeah.
because the scream was Nancy at first. That's the reason why they ran over in the first place. But
Yeah.
there wasn't from what I recall, Barb did not make a scream. That's what like no, that's what's confused. Like did he actually see what happened? Because if he did, then he should be freaking out. And but also if he did, he's not freaking out. What the hell's wrong with you? So, like my thought maybe it came up in the photograph that maybe one of the photographs he took of Barb maybe it was in the background. I don't know, and he just didn't see at first. I don't know. Again, we don't know much about this monster thing in the first place. I know you guys do, but like me and Izzo don't.
Oh yeah, I
So
certainly don't.
this thing has been it's been intriguing how it what they're dealing with. Um, and speaking of you guys with Hopper, um, I thought I didn't I thought it was the right amount of Hopper. Like because I feel like he's going to play a bigger role in the future. You can definitely see that they're really no I won't say laying on thick, but like they're definitely setting that up. And I thought the two scenes that like the two main scenes to in my opinion that he were in, or I guess three. Of course, I don't talk about more Joyce when you talk about his daughter. They I thought it was a little bit of a low blow there. The second one was the suicide, the suicide setup with Bobby, Billy. I don't know what the guy's name was.
Benny.
Benny. I knew it started with B. So with Benny, because that's this is a remember correctly, this is a small town. no, things don't happen here, and no, you no, he's like, yeah, like he was a friend, and like him interviewing the guy, and like, no, it was like, yeah, this shouldn't have happened, like, no, this the guy's like, yeah, we're planning to go fishing, and like, him interviewing the friend from the diner, and then like, no, he's like, oh, like once he sees a lead, he's like, oh, like you like compared to Hopper versus Jonathan, like Hopper, you do see urgency, like, oh, could it be Will? And like he's jumping on this, like he's moving. Um, and then there's the third scene where he's in bed with the woman. I don't know who that is. I don't think she was ever introduced yet.
She's kind of
You guys-
a random person at this point.
One night.
yeah. So he gets up and he goes for his drink or something. I don't know what he was doing. And no, he makes the comment like, we hadn't had a kidnapping here since '73, and we hadn't had a
23.
suicide here. It was it 23? I thought it was
It
73.
was 23. I only know that because I had the captions on while I was watching it, just for that conversation, because I never hear what he said.
So, and keep it. This is so 1923. That's wild to me.
Yeah.
And then didn't have a suicide since '61.
Yep.
So like, and like it's like, am I cursed? Like no, and I don't blame him for feeling like that, because the fact that like he's in this town and now two of these incidents are happening now, and no, he's just, it's literally the tip of the iceberg to whatever he's dealing with, the government agents. And I don't know, I thought it was the right amount for just to, I think they're setting up emotionally for him very well this episode. And then no, they will definitely, he's definitely gonna have a bigger focal point in the future, I can definitely see. And then one last comment on the government people with the agents, like them, I guess this thing's radioactive from what it looks like, because they will have their Geiger counters out. And I was like, oh, interesting. I'm kind of curious. I'm kind of curious how much they know about the Upside Down, because obviously 11 knows, but like, does she have information that, and is she will holding information from them, and how much do they know as an entity about the whole like, I know obviously they're holding the monster themselves, but like, no, we're not really giving a clear picture yet of all of the information they have.
So I'll drop a few hints based off of context clues they put in the episode. So the government facility we see in episode 1, it's the Department of Energy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've noticed, every single time that there's an instance that the monster is about to show up, even in episode 1 when they all leave Mike's house in the beginning, you see the house lights flicker.
Yeah. I know. I
and
get
you
that.
constantly see lights flickering throughout the show every time something happens. So Department of Energy has to do with lights. The phone keeps bursting every time Will tries to make contact with his mom.
No, I get. I'm curious about how much does this, because I'm assuming it's I know it says Department of Energy, but like, who knows who they are?
Yeah.
But like, how much information do they have? Because it could be a situation where they capture this thing, because we don't know where it came from. They capture this thing and they're doing research on it currently, and it got out. And they're in the midst of research, so they don't know all the information. So I'm kind of curious how much information they have on this monster. That's what I'm trying to get at here.
That's fair. Do you think it is an actual monster, or do you think it's 11?
From what I can tell, it's a monster, because 11's been in this, at least in the eyesight of Mike this whole time.
Okay.
So, it definitely seems like a separate entity, because when they did the radioactive testing, they're sweeping around the Geiger counters. They came across that weird guck again in the shed, and like, oh no, they realized, yeah, that thing was here. So they're hunting two things at the moment.
Okay.
So, because they mentioned that Will was missing, and like the phone call, they tapped it, and they had the information on that. So that's my spiel. Sidney Mitchell, I didn't think your mic went on. Nope. Test your mic real quick, Mitch.
We lost Mitchell.
Yeah. You muted yourself, bud. Shut now. Nope. Sorry, buddy. Technical difficulties right now. I don't know
We'll
how.
edit this out. We'll edit this out in post.
Um. Yeah, it's definitely intriguing how it goes.
Well,
Here.
if we see Mitchell get eaten by a monster, we know what happened.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, did I hear him come across?
Can you hear me now?
There we
Yes, we
go.
Yep, there
He's
he
back.
is.
All right. What I asked was, is it grade time?
Sure.
I think it is time for grade time.
The Excel doc is up.
All right. Connor, how
So
about
Mitchell,
you
I
lead us
think we'll
off?
save your nonsense for last. Let us get the.
I prefer it that way. Let me get the last
Yeah.
word.
I'll give this.
What order did we go in last time?
It went myself, Nick, then you, Tommy, and then of course the shenanigans.
Okay.
Yeah,
then
let's start
Connor,
it off
take
with the
away.
people that are new to the series.
So,
I think
so
that their opinion is valid.
So, because you two can't influence us.
That's right.
Yes.
I would say I'll give it a 7.7.
That's a lot lower than the last one.
It was a good, again, it's still passing grade. I thought it was a very good episode, but like you can definitely see they're doing a lot more, I guess, character development in this one. No, there was, I guess, there's stuff for Bar, but like it wasn't as, the suspense wasn't as high, I guess you could say, and it's again they're planting seeds in order to see the trees grow into what they're going to be. You definitely need to have an episode where, again, like the tempo with Jonathan. I feel like they couldn't, like, I understand why they're doing that. At the same time, like I feel like they could have done that better. It's still a good episode. Like it's close to an 8. But yeah, 7.7.
Nick?
Yep, I agree with many of the things that Connor just said. I think it's better than the last one, but I would also just say 7.5. Honestly, it was a good episode.
So-
It didn't.
To
What's
be
up?
fair, Nick, that's you saying that's a better episode than the last one for you.
Yeah, Connor
think
did
so.
not think that.
Because
I think like not by a whole lot, but I think like in terms of like the progression of like what's going to happen, I thought it was like slightly better.
okay, that's fair. No, I'm saying is I thought it was not as good as an episode last time to me, because I went down from 8. I said the 8.5 for the very first episode. So I loved the first episode. I
Right.
loved.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
So
you
I was more bearish, is the right word for that, on this one
Yeah.
than
Mhm.
the other one. But like Tosa was very good. So
Yeah.
7.5. All right, Tommy, you're up.
So I'll give it a 7.2. It was a good episode. It was a little slower than the first episode. It's definitely setting things up, but in terms of pacing, I thought it was a little slower for my liking. But otherwise, I don't really have any complaints or praises for this episode. It was kind of just an average episode for me.
Yeah.
And now for Mitchell's accurate grade that he's going to give.
Accurate and precise.
Different
So-
things.
I swear, if I hear more than 4 numbers after the decimal point, I'm walking away and I'm
All
grabbing
right,
another beer.
so I'm on an island here because I liked this more than the first one, which Nick was the same, but I gave episode 1 an 8.21.
Correct.
Yeah, we
So
know.
for this one, I'm going with an 8.52.
Ow, why so much more?
Okay.
I thought that I really liked the character stuff. I think that I was just intrigued the whole time. There wasn't any plot lines from like I don't like where this is going or I'm checked out of this. And there are a lot of TV shows where I need to binge them to be able to really get into them. Like I need to watch 2, 3, 4 episodes at a time. And I watched this episode, 52 minutes or however long it was, and I was entertained, invested, and intrigued the whole way through. And there wasn't any moment where I'm like, let me pause this for a second. Let me, do this or that. and that's just something that I've got to give high praise for, because a lot of times I watch one episode of TV just on its own and I can get bored pretty easily. And this held my attention.
So see, I feel kind of flip where the first episode did its job. Where like, oh, I can't wait for the next one. This episode, I'm like, the barber cliffhanger was great. I'm not saying it wasn't, but I was more so like, I'm much more like simmered down from that one. I was like, again, it's still good. I'm curious at the plot lines. I'm not saying that they're not
There was
great or
no
anything.
big cliffhanger as to what was going on.
It
Last
was much.
episode, we had the 11 appearance, and everybody's kind of like, what the hell is going on? This one, it was kind of like, yeah, we kind of assumed Barb got killed. And that
I don't
was
think
kind
she's
of
dead because the
No?
fact that whatever happened to Will would possibly
Okay.
happen to her too.
Nick,
who knows what
what's your
happened to
take
Will?
on that? Do you think Barb's dead or alive?
Um,
We'll consider this part of the prediction as to what's going to
Yeah.
happen.
um, my initial thought probably is that she is alive, got taken. Kind of like what Connor said. Um, yeah, I don't think she's dead yet. Well, I guess, but I do have one thing though that I just remembered and wanted to bring up. So the mystery with 11 uh kind of intrigues me in a way that um I kind of wonder like how much she knows from a sense of like, she asks what the words like promise and friend are. So she doesn't know that, but as soon as Lucas is like, "Yo, I'm going to go tell your mom," she has the wherewithal to know like, "Oh, that's not somebody that should know, what's going on." And then she shuts the door like twice. So I kind of thought it was interesting how like, she has that, I guess, sense of awareness, but at the same time like she doesn't know what like, I guess, like primary vocab is. So like that part is like kind of interesting to me.
I'll touch on
Not that I
that.
don't understand it, but it's like that's what I find interesting.
I'll touch on that because like how I interpreted that scene was the to me I see 11 more like a an animal is like a more feral, I guess is the proper way to put it, because how she's reacting to everyone around her is more so based on, are you friend or are you foe? And she's reading your body language, and like to her, like you can definitely see it's the Lucas is the one who's trying to tell the mom, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, he was not about
Yeah. He called him the
playing.
psycho and everything. Yeah, but you can tell with Lucas, he's very much confrontational. He is in
Yeah.
her face, like and when like just the way that how Michael's reacting to Lucas. If Michael's not reacting good to how what Lucas is saying, then why should she should react well? So like that's how I kind of took it in that situation. Um,
Okay.
quick sidebar, average 7.73. Um,
That's what I got as well.
I
The math is mathin'.
dude, like I have an Excel spreadsheet that does everything by itself.
Nice.
That's how it should be.
Down from the 7.9275 of last
Yes.
week. So, as a whole, even though half of us liked it more as a group, we are lower on season 1 episode 2 than we were episode 1.
My big prediction though is Nancy's going to freak when she realizes Barb's gone.
Okay.
Because the fact that they're not gonna know until, well, maybe because she didn't take her car with her, so she might know after hooking up with Steve, and that I think she's gonna freak out a bit because especially with Will disappearing, now another person she knows disappears, and now it's going to be important to her, and I think she's going to start getting mixed up with. I think she might have a little more interaction with her brother, and more cause for concern now in the search. That's my big prediction.
So, so you think Nancy will eventually become a member of the D&D party?
I won't say I won't say a
She'll join the
complete.
crew.
I won't be. I won't say she should be part of the crew, so and so. But like, I think that like Dustin made a comment where like, oh, she used to play games with us. Like she used to play D&D. I think that was a reference that they had, or with them way back when. Now she's older. She's too grown up for that. But like I feel like that. I think she's going to have a lot more incentive that it will that now that you know now that Barbara's gone, that she's going to like kind of get her. She's going to start being concerned now, and then she's going to start freaking about that. Yeah.
Fair enough. Nick, any big predictions for next episode?
I can't say anything too major, but what I would say to kind of piggyback off that is I do think that Nancy will definitely have a freak out. I think it might start the awkward love triangle that you brought up before. I think, and then other than that, uh, I think Hopper's gonna do his version of his best to search the
I
facility.
like how you phrase that.
Yeah, right, right. So I think he's gonna do his version of his best to search the facility that he just found beyond the sewage pipe. I guess we'll call it, and be beyond the fence. So
Good job bringing that. Good
that's
job
my
bringing that up, because the fact that we didn't mention that they found the piece of Eleven's, I guess,
yes,
robe
yes.
or something at the sewage pipe
Yeah, it looked
by
like a
Will Benny's
piece of
diner.
clothing. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's what I
Okay.
would say.
All right. Well, that about wraps things up for season 1, episode 2 of the Stranger Nerds podcast. Next week, we'll take a look at at episode 3 rather. This one's called Holly Jolly, so not giving you too much to work with as far as that goes. Maybe something Christmas related. I don't know.
Hold on, one quick thing though. I'm assuming the Weirdo on Maple Street is Jonathan, correct? The reference
That
of
would
the
be
title.
my guess. Yeah.
That's
That's
referencing the episode of this one. So just want
yeah, that's
quick
what
question on
I didn't think about
I
that.
can't think of it being anybody else. Unless maybe it's 11.
No, I think that might be Jonathan. I just kind of
Yeah.
thought so, but I was like confirming.
All right. Well, for Connor Vandermark, Tommy Grant, Nick Izzo, I'm Mitchell Lee. Thanks for listening, and tune in next week. Season 1, Episode 3, Stranger Nerds Podcast.
See ya.
Deuces.